So welcome to today's fifth and final class of Flourish in Stressful Times. And I'm glad you could join me. Appreciate you coming and hope you found some of the earlier classes helpful. And just as a reminder, all these classes are eligible for Know Your Numbers credits. They would go under personal choice activities. So you still have to do, I think, the biometric screening. And then you have other choices that you can do. And there's one that's EFR classes. And so you can take, I think, up to two. It's $100 credit per class, with two being the max. So just to remind you about that, there's my contact info if you have any follow-up questions afterwards. And a couple of my colleagues there will be mentioning the health coaches towards the end. So let's get started with today's session, which is we're focusing on purpose. And this is our fifth and final class. As you can see, what we've covered so far, we've had the initial class back in June on flourishing in general, and then we talked about awareness, connection, and insight in the three subsequent classes. And today, it's about purpose. So if you happen to be coming to this one, that's fine. You can see all those recordings if you want to go back and watch any of them on Thrive. And they're all there, as well as the slides are there as well. And part of the class, just to remind you, you probably know this, but we've been using the Healthy Mind app, which actually there's a section of the app for each of those pillars of flourishing. And again, it's based on the research of that Center for Healthy Minds, which is led by Dr. Richard Davidson. But hopefully you've been trying some of that, and I'm going to ask you in a minute how your experience has been in the last couple of weeks. The last class we did was on insight, and we talked a lot about insights we get from meditating, but also just any other insights that we get from just stopping and pausing and being aware. And hopefully we get some insights into our thinking, into our emotions, into how that all connects with what's going on in the body, how we take in the world, how we kind of make judgments and decisions, and we have opinions and all those things. And a lot of those are kind of part of the overall package, the sort of software running in the background. And we're not always fully aware of that. Sometimes they're in the subconscious or even unconscious. And so when we stop and pause and begin to pay attention to our thinking and not get caught up in those kind of thought patterns, that gives us some insight. And so I'm going to ask you in a minute or two what that was like. But before we do that, I'm going to just start with our mindful pause. So we're just going to take a couple of minutes here to just pause, and you can close your eyes if you like, but you don't have to. Just pause for a second and just kind of check in and just be aware of your body. Bring your attention into the body and let the body settle for a moment. Feel the connection your body makes with the surface beneath you, and maybe take a couple of nice deep breaths to help you just sort of slow down a little bit and relax as we pause. And as we do that, recognizing the sense of being in the moment as opposed to doing, which we're so often in the midst of during our busy days. So just trying to tap into that state of just being here and now without having anything to do, just to be in the moment. As you do that, I'm going to ask you, or actually give you just a little bit of a prompt of something to think about, which is sort of introducing this whole topic of purpose. So you might recall a time when you felt inspired or passionate or just engaged, fully engaged in what you were doing. And as you do that, what memories come to mind? It doesn't have to be a big event or achievement. Anytime when you felt engaged and inspired, kind of doing something you really enjoy doing in a moment. In these moments where we felt inspired or in the flow, it's usually because we're doing something that we really, really care about, something that really matters to us. And, it kind of connects us in some way with this deeper sense of purpose or calling. So just taking a last moment to just reflect on what comes up for you. Whatever you notice is okay. We're just kind of getting in touch with this a little bit. And just noticing, paying attention to what comes up. And so you can let go of that reflection and just maybe be aware again of the body, be aware of your breath. And when you're ready, if your eyes are closed, you can open your eyes and we'll finish that quick practice. So again, just kind of an introduction to be thinking about what's important to us, what matters to us, and just being in the moment. And I'm going to ask you a couple times during this session today to reflect. So you might want to grab a piece of paper or a note app or something like that, or some place to jot a couple of things down. We are going to do a meditation as usual, full meditation later on. We will do a little bit more of that, ask you some more specific kinds of questions and prompts to be reflecting on. But, as I've mentioned, all of this is part of this overall concept of flourishing, and finding purpose and meaning really are keys. So we've talked about awareness. Self-awareness is so important. We've talked about connection, those connections with other people, meaningful relationships. Also very important. Insight, again, which we covered last week. And today is the fourth pillar. And we're really talking about purpose and meaning. And I can remember when I was younger, when I probably didn't feel like I had a whole lot of purpose and meaning. What did that really mean to me? And, I really struggled with that as a younger person. And so, part of what I'm going to talk about is that some of the challenges that come up when we think about trying to get in touch with that, it's not always easy at times, but we'll try to break it down into smaller chunks, smaller digestible ways that we can tap into that sense as we go through this. But this next slide, I can pull it up here. This is from an article, and this, by the way, is an active link. So when you get the slides, it's from an article called 16 Ways People Find Purpose Around the World. It's from Psychology Today. And as you just kind of take a look at these 16 different things that came out of this study, you'll see a number of things just to kind of like spur the mind a little bit and give you some things to consider. And, so there's lots of things. In fact, what they did was they compared different cultures, which is sort of interesting. And they found that happiness, self-sufficiency, and family were common to the cultures that they studied. And they were in the top 5 for each of those countries. But just for you, just kind of looking through this, most of them are pretty self-explanatory. So, self-improvement, being the best you can be, family, obviously supporting, providing for your family, and kind of that caretaking role, whether you're a parent or a sibling or a grandparent, whatever that might be, or a spouse, those kinds of roles that we play. Then there's religion and spirituality, living in accordance with and meeting the standards of your religious or spiritual beliefs, recognition, being respected and having high status or having some status, getting meaning out of that, happiness, just being happy, having a sense of well-being, enjoying life, feeling good, self-sufficiency, being able to take care of yourself physically, financially, and having the freedom to do as you wish. Material wealth, kind of connected to that a little bit, but not necessarily. Internal standards, knowing who you are, what you stand for, living your life according to these principles. Positive impact, making an impact, or rather making the world a better place. And then mattering, that is one of the big ones, inspiring others and leaving a legacy, making an impact. Occupational fulfillment, whatever you do for work, finding your calling through that, doing your job well and working hard. Persevering, handling what life throws at you, not giving up, sort of a sense of resilience. Then there's physical health, taking care of your body and being healthy, and then inner peace, being grateful for what you have and accepting what you can't change. And then finally, service, so serving your country or community. So again, just to give you some ideas to be reflecting on. And so here's the one spot, if you've got something to write down on, one thing to think about. What has given you meaning at work, within your family, hobbies that you do, or volunteering, whatever it might be? There's lots of different things. And just take a moment to reflect on that and jot a few things that come to mind. Jot down. You don't have to put them in the chat, although I will ask you for that a little bit later. But just for now, for yourself, just jot down a few things that come to mind in terms of what gives you meaning. Might reflect on that initial pause exercise that we did in the beginning. I'm going to pause and give you a chance to jot a couple things down. Well, thank you for that. That's a good, appreciate you sharing that. Volunteering in the performance arts and spiritual participation. So good. Thank you. And if others want to share in the chat, please feel free to do that. All right, so take a moment to wrap up. There's a couple of any other things that you're currently jotting down. Just moving on. And again, this is for your own purpose, but this particular article talks about different purposes for different ends. The research has found that people whose purpose came from mattering were the most likely to have a more meaningful life, with perseverance and service also tied to meaning. Doesn't mean those are, you have to go into those things, but this is just what this particular research showed.
Alexa, radio off.
The chat here, thank you. Baking challah for my synagogues Friday evenings. Very good. Like that too. Appreciate, again, your sharing. And I'm going to make sure everybody's muted here for the moment, but if you want to unmute yourself and talk, that's fine to share something. Then there's a couple of other points. People felt happier depending on how much they pursued inner peace. Kind of makes sense, linked together with the pursuit of also positive impact. And physical health and happiness were also tied to happiness. Again, makes a lot of sense, more than others for sources of purpose. So just kind of looking at some of the connections that are there. So this particular slide, I think, is kind of important because when we think of purpose and meaning, sometimes we do think of the very large, overarching kinds of things, of dreams, for example, that we might have. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But the problem with that is that those big purpose, sort of big P purpose goals can often lead to stress and disconnection instead of fulfillment. They can kind of produce some anxiety because if we're just thinking about the end goal, for example, I want to write the great American novel or something like that. Pretty hard to do, right? I mean, it takes a lot of dedication and a lot of time and energy. So purpose anchors, that second point there, are everyday interests that can guide meaningful life activities. So staying with that example, it might be something more down to earth, maybe writing a small piece, creative writing or an article or something like that, or a blog, and building up to that. So those are more small steps. So, and that last point, small passion-driven climbs are almost like steps, create a more sustainable and joyful sense of purpose. And they're just more realistic, and they help us get more in touch with that. So, and the author in the article goes on to point out that when we let go of the big goal-oriented dreams, what they call the big P purpose, and instead embrace the little p purpose, which are more rooted in the process rather than the final destination or the outcome. When we follow those activities that light us up, that really kind of give us energy and joy, that also gets us more connection with other people, and that can help to, really fuel that activity and get us to that, to further on down the road. And so the good news is that discovering those little p purpose kinds of things are much more accessible, right? And more abundant. They're more available to us. And so when we identify those, we can gain insight into what purpose looks like in our lives. So if you had trouble thinking of kind of the bigger purpose, start small. Start with some of these things that are important to you, and just in terms of your daily life, things that you do. And a couple of you mentioned those kinds of things in it. So thank you again for that. You might think of childhood joys, things that you did as a kid. And an example for me is, that sense of play. I can remember, playing in the neighborhood with friends and doing things, those sports-related activities or swimming or something like that in the summertime. Those kinds of things, now when I get in touch with that much later in life, those give me a sense of joy, but also a sense of purpose. And sometimes it just takes a little bit of, what the author calls the spaghetti method. So throwing something against the wall and seeing if it sticks. So you might try that as well. But so what's, one thing to explore, and maybe one or two things you'd love to explore? Now, consider this. If you had plenty of time and flexibility, and maybe perhaps you need money to do some of these things, but what's one thing or one or two things that you'd love to explore? And if you'd like to jot that down and or share it in the chat, love to hear that. I know think there was a couple of other, no, maybe not. So take a moment to do that. And if you'd like to share it in the chat, I'd love to hear just one or two things that are now coming to mind. So we're kind of maybe drilling a little bit deeper. And again, I'll give you a moment to do that. Okay, thank you. Live overseas. Nice. So living in a different culture, I would assume, or in a different place, learning new things, learning a new language, a culture, those kinds of things. How to sew a quilt. So there's a good down to earth, very practical kind of thing. Long vacation. Okay, excellent. Play the cello. Love that. Visiting new places. Is that what that means? And natural wonders. Very good. Yep. So travel, new experiences, beaches. Okay. Oh, beaches. Right. There we go. Got it. Thank you for clarifying. Thank you. Any others? Appreciate you sharing those. All right. So more travel experiences, more of that. Good. Excellent. So you might not have the time or the flexibility if you're working full time and you have a lot of other responsibilities, but that's a good example of, I know when I've happened to have more time now in my life in the last couple of years and have done a little bit more traveling. But one of the things I always found kind of intriguing was just planning a trip and exploring things online and talking to people about different places and things to see. That was, like really kind of exciting. That got the juices flowing. So that's an example of the climb to get to that final destination. So just might think of small steps that you can do to get you to that one big trip or that one, seeing those special places that you want to go. All right, so at this point, I'm going to do the exercise. I think I got everybody there. Yep. And this is our meditation for today. And we are going to start, as we often do, with some just sense of sorry, I was just checking that the recording was going on, and it is. So, getting a sense of being mindful and aware. So we'll start with, just the body awareness and being aware of the breath and just relaxing. And then I'll insert some reflections or some prompts to be thinking about. And again, it helps to just do this internally. You could jot them down while I'm talking. That's fine if that's easier for you, but maybe you want to jot them down afterwards as well. So either way, whatever works for you is best. What works best is fine. So let's just pause right now, and this will take, let me just check my timing here. Okay, good. We should have plenty of time. So this will maybe take, 8 or 10 minutes. So just take a moment. You can close your eyes if you like. Find a comfortable position. Take a moment to just find that position where you can be attentive and alert, but also relaxed in your posture. So again, just settling in, putting aside any other things that are going on, all those to-dos, especially if you're kind of multitasking. Let's just try to focus on one thing right now. And all you need to do is just relax and pay attention and follow along. Feeling the body as it settles, sensing your feet on the floor, body in the chair. Feeling the breathing, just following the breath for a few cycles. Maybe taking a couple of deeper, longer breaths. It helps to bring a sense of kindness to an exercise like this. So bring a smile of kindness to your face. Feel its warmth and friendliness spread down through the shoulders into the chest and the heart area, all the way through the rest of the body. You might have some insight as we did a couple of the previous exercises. Maybe there were some insights that you noticed about thoughts that popped up as I gave you some earlier prompts. What were they? What surfaced? Some of the things that you jotted down. Just notice them, being aware of them. You might have noticed with some of those things that they involved other people that in your circle already, or perhaps other new people. And so there's that sense of connection as well. And here are a couple of things to think about. Just I'll give you a couple of prompts and give you some silence to think about it. So, what matters to me at this point in life? Just sort of see what surfaces. Are there certain qualities you'd like to cultivate more of? Personal qualities or strengths or abilities that you'd like to cultivate? Are there relationships or personal aspirations that are meaningful to you? Again, just take a moment to reflect. Now imagine yourself a few years down the road from now. How would you feel with this new habit or purpose once you've made some steps in that direction? How would you feel? And kind of related to that, what qualities might you be experiencing more of? Perhaps joy or connection or energy or presence, contentment. See if you can identify a first step that you can make in this direction. Something small and manageable. And remember, bring a sense of kindness, sense of adventure, play, or joy to this process. Sense of openness and possibilities. You know, And again, I'll just ask you, what matters to me at this point in life? Okay, let's just let go of the reflection for now and just rest for a moment in awareness. Again, maybe being aware of the body sitting or whatever position you're in, being aware of your breath, being aware of thoughts. You don't have to make thoughts go away. You can just notice thoughts coming and going. And just tapping into the state of being right here and right now. Don't have to do anything, just without any effort or striving, just rest for a moment. Purpose can feel pretty abstract sometimes, and we can get lost in all kinds of ideas. And just giving you some things to think about and reflect on who you are, why you exist. It can help to reflect on moments of your own life where you felt a strong sense of purpose. And this helps to bring things down to earth. And as we begin to come to a close, maybe making an intention to bring this quality of awareness or insights into your purpose and meaning as you re-engage with the day. Slowly opening the eyes if they've been closed. Feel free to stretch or move the body a little bit. And I thank you for your presence and your practice and following along with that reflection. So just notice what that experience was like before we move on. You know, what kinds of things, if you want to jot some things down, if you didn't already, there are more insights or more things that came up for you. I want to jot them down for later use. This is, let's see what else here. Oh, there was a new chat coming in. Anything new? Okay. This is from that Healthy Minds app, and I just kind of went through some of the things that I've done that I found helpful. These are different lessons and meditations in that app. One that I kind of highlight a little bit here is imagining your 100th birthday, and all your friends and family have gathered to celebrate this with you, and they're sharing different things and experiences and things that matter to you. And so it kind of can give you a sense of, you know, what would you like to feel like at that point, you know, if you're, you know, lived that long, of those things. Another kind of related exercise, which I actually had a professor give to me years ago, was, and I thought it was kind of morbid, but it's actually a pretty interesting exercise, and that is to write your own obituary. Some people do this on a regular basis. But as you do this, it kind of also is a great exercise to be thinking about the things that you want to be remembered for, the things that were meaningful to you, the things that, how you made, the impact you made, the things that not so much the things that you accomplished, but perhaps the way that you were and how you made people feel and the things that matter to you, your values, your things that were important. There are some other really great things there. There's things that kind of are a lot more down to earth, like the little things or purpose in daily life, meaning in the here and now. So those are some good examples of things that you might try going forward. But let me just pause here and just, because we're nearing the end, I do have some reminders about resources and so forth. But any questions or comments that anybody has at this point? Okay, well, give those a try. The next slide specifically goes over, again, to remind you about there's that whole purpose section in the app, and it's broken down again into 3 parts. The first is clarity of purpose, second is embodying values, and the third is finding meaning. So you might just even browse through there, and there's a lot there, I know. But I would really encourage you to continue some of this. This is really kind of the tip of the iceberg and giving you some things to start with. But I would encourage you to continue with some of this in the next week or so, and continue some of the other things. Hopefully you found some things in the 4 pillars that we've already gone through, that things that you might want to continue and go through. So try some of the lessons that are in there. I see the thank yous. There we go. That was from last time. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Appreciate your comment about the series. Yeah, I mean, I will send out, hopefully I'll find a little time to do this, but I'll try to put together a brief survey and just get a sense of if you want to give me some feedback. I'd appreciate that. This one was a little different. I based it on the whole app, so I'd love to hear. Hopefully you found some or all of it helpful, and some perhaps a springboard for any of the pillars of flourishing. Just to remind you, we're still doing the monthly mindfulness, which is going on the 2nd Wednesday of the month. So the next one is going to be in September. That'll actually be my last. I'm one of the folks who is taking part of the voluntary retirement program. So just letting you know that I will be retiring on September 19th, but I'll be doing one more of the monthly mindfulness. They will continue after that. A couple of my colleagues, Vivian is going to be available, and then Cecily Thelmer is also going to be doing those going forward. So they will continue. Thank you. Appreciate that. And thank you for those well wishes. Appreciate those. And then also, of course, some reminders. The Take 10 phone meditations, we're also continuing these. They're on Teams now, so if you don't have the Teams invite, let me know. I can send that to you. Thank you so much. Appreciate those nice messages. And, the program itself, the program is there, Employee and Family Resources, with all sorts of great services. And then the Thrive Health Coaching, that also is relatively new service under the Employee Wellbeing Services. So if you're interested in talking to one of the health coaches for any of these things that you see here, to really to give you some motivation, to give you some exercises to help you work on any one of these areas, all you have to do is reach out to Thrive Health Coaching at mynhh.org, and they'll get back in touch with you and schedule a session. And Thrive is, we still post these under live and recorded resources. So those, all of our classes are there. The monthly mindfulness ones are there. The Flourish series is there. But I am going to send you, don't forget, I'm going to send you the recording link and the slides. So you'll get that. As long as you've registered on the LMS, I'll be sending those to you as well. Again, I really appreciate those nice comments. This is a big, as you probably have guessed, a big part of my purpose in meeting is doing these kinds of webinars, and it's helped me with my own journey to kind of look further into things to relay and just to provide through these webinars. And so I do have that YouTube channel. When I send you the link, that is actually all uploaded to my YouTube channel. That'll still be live if you want to follow me there, or as I do different things. I plan to be doing more in the community, continue teaching some classes in different places. So that's one way I'll post those as those happen. So thank you so much. Really appreciate that. All those really nice well wishes. And with that, I'll say namaste, bow to you. Appreciate you being with me on this journey. Thank you so very much, and peace be with you. I'm going to stop the share, and I'll stop the recording. And if you have any questions, I'll be hanging around for a couple of minutes. So let me stop that now. And again, thank you so much for being with me. Appreciate your presence.
Thank you.